Hey y'all, welcome to a Balls to the Walls list video. I'm home. I'm about to play my guard in a game since I have them here, and I kind of miss playing my guard. They've been my longest army, and I've always had a lot of trouble with guard, and until I started playing Blob Guard, and that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be the art of the Blob Guard. First, I'd like to go over my list with you. It's led by Straken. The old Stricken model, that is. I like the newer one personally if I can get it. But he has 2 bodyguards. That is supposed to be a Master of Ordnance, but I never finished the conversion, so I need to replace the glaze gun with a sword. Company standard and an autocannon team for this list. This is my 1750 Blob Guard list, by the way. Next we have the Blob, which is the main feature of Blob Guard, of course. Which I have 5 combined squads, so it's basically a full platoon. Each squad has a power weapon, a flamer. I'd rather have melted guns, but I only have flamer models, and I'm not really buying anything for my guard army, so it's flamers, which is sort of helpful. I've used them to quite good effect. And 30 guardsmen. That is led. That's all combined, by the way. That is led by a platoon command squad with 3 sniper rifles and a plasma gun in this list. The sergeant has a bolt gun and a power fist. Also, a Lord Commissar is in that unit. I use a Lord Commissar with a carapace armor and a plasma pistol in this specific list. I like the Lord Commissar because of his aura of discipline. You can stick him in the back of the unit and then hand over his aura of discipline over to other units nearby, such as heavy weapons teams and ratlings and such. Speaking of ratlings, I also have 5 ratlings in this list because I love ratlings. They're very useful, very good at hunting down monstrous creatures with their high weapon ballistic skill, and also decent for pinning units. Also, technically part of the Blob Guard unit is the heavy weapons team back here, 2 autocannons and a heavy bolter. Also in the list we have 2 sentinels, one over here, one over here. This one's a multi-laser one, that one's a laser cannon one, both are scout sentinels. To give the list a little bit more flavor, we have a veterans team, a demolitions veterans team to be more specific. Sergeant has a power weapon and a bolt pistol, a flamer, heavy flamer, and melted gun in the specific one, 2 shotguns, very useful, and of course the demo charge since it's a demolitions team, and they're in a heavy bolter, chinchilla, as I call them. They're not chimeras to me. Marbo, especially since it's catechins, you always need Marbo in your list. A Hellhound, and Punisher, and in this list I have it equipped with 2 plasma cannons, which is completely unnecessary, and laser cannon. Even with the heavy bolters, that would be a very successful tank. But to bring up the 1750, I thought that I would add that in. And this is my 1750 list. And now on to tactics and why I like Blob Guard. Also, I forgot to mention that the Punisher does have camo netting and extra armor, so does the Hellhound. I'm just trying out extra armor and camo netting for fun, since they basically give you stealth, so 3+ cover save if I'm behind a piece of terrain. That's a proof that a cover save is actually obscured save. So some people argue that an obscured save is not a cover save, so if you're in a piece of terrain benefiting from a cover save from part of the piece of terrain with a vehicle, that it is an obscured save, not a cover save. Well, then why would tanks be able to get stealth, which gives you +1 to your cover save? That'd be pointless, especially as an expensive upgrade. So 3+ saves, well, that'll be useless on that pretty much, but on the Punisher that'll be very useful. Very annoying to my opponents. Anyway, why I like this list. First of all, the major reason why I like this list is the Blob. The Blob itself. This big blob guardsman. It's very, very, very hard to kill. I've been assaulted by, one time I had my Blob Guard be assaulted by, 20 Hormagaunts, 10 Gene Stealers, and a Trigon. And Straken rushed in to help them, by the way. And I actually ended up winning the combat with Straken being the only model left in that combat, but I technically won the combat and it lasted the entire game. I got a little lucky, but other than that, the Blob will hold your enemy's army and it'll lock it in place. It also distracts enemies shooting like crazy. With 5 missile launchers in there, you give it an order and it starts shooting 5 cracked missiles at something, that grabs your enemy's attention. Also, that many laser guns, and the fear fact that isn't just, it dominates. You stick it in the middle of the table, you move it forward, if your enemy's not on the table yet, and you just dominate the center of the table. That's basically what it does. It can also string out between objectives, One time I played a Tau player in Dawn of War, and he kept everything in reserve. So I started the blob in the middle of the table, and I moved it forward and I ran it forward, so I was 12 inches away from his table edge, along pretty much the entire table edge by the time he came on the table. With Furious Charge with Striker nearby, it was just game over. So, also, a Commissar needs to be in the unit. Because remember, they're just guardsmen. You cannot stick, the one major mistake people make with Blob Guard is they try to stick the platoon command squad inside the block. That's actually illegal, you're not allowed to add that in. Smart players don't do that, but your occasional newbie trying to play Blob Guard do that. As a major mistake, that's actually illegal. Just like it's illegal to stick Striker in that squad because you use a company command squad upgrade. I've seen that tick. So what I like to do is I stick a Lord Commissar in there, but any Commissar will do. Lord Commissar just because he's a little bit better, and I need the points. I like the extra HQ, and I've always run a Lord Commissar, because I like the aura discipline. Anyway, that dominates the middle of the table. Like, say this is our table, you can stick it right along there. Move it forward if you need to. If not, just put it in the middle of the line. Your enemy's gonna get. It's gonna draw your enemy's attention because it's the main feature of your army, and it dominates the table. Another reason why I like Blob Guard, Straken. You always need Straken in this list. He makes the blob that much better. And also a chapter, not a chapter banner, company banner. Sorry, I'm used to playing Space Marines. That'll let you re-roll failed morale checks, right? That's very key with getting leadership 10, being able to re-roll that. But also, he confers counterattack and furious charge to units nearby. Also, if his command squad dies, he's an independent character. He can join that squad, making them even better as being fearless. That generally doesn't happen. But if you stick this guy close, either I like to put him on one of the sides, but it leaves the flank vulnerable, so in the back's fine. Even in the front's just as good, because you do want Straken against assault, because Straken is beastly in assault. If you don't know, if you haven't tried him and you play guard, try him out in a fun game. You'll like him. You'll probably put him in your tournament list if it's big enough. Stick him nearby, because he has that 12-inch range that he confers furious charge and counterattack. That's very good with the blob, because now they're strength 4 on the charge, and they get a ridiculous amount of attacks, and even power weapon attacks in this list. Power fists also confer if you have the points for them. So, on to the next. The mistake I see a lot of people do is they like to take a bigger platoon of 60 guardsmen. I don't think you actually can do that now that I think about it. But what they do is they take multiple blobs, usually with two platoons of 30 guardsmen in each. That is a no-no. You don't want to do that with Blob Guard. You may think that seems like a good tactic, but because it gives you more flexibility. Also, people try to use that special platoon commander that lets you outflank with a big blob. That also does not work, because if your blob comes down the wrong side, it's not dominating the table. It needs to be in the middle of the table, dominating the table. It has one big collective unit that's very hard to kill. Multiple blobs, you're just defeating the purpose of Blob Guard, which is a big dominating unit that just grabs your opponent's attention, and if he assaults it, it'll just soak up all of his time trying to attack it, especially with Straken nearby and being stubborn with the Commissar in there. A leadership 10 Commissar, since he's a Lord Commissar. And also with the power weapons, it's a very effective assault unit. It will kill stuff, and it will shoot stuff, and everything will die. It's not super great, but it's very attention grabbing. And the point of the Blob Guard is that they grab your opponent's attention. Meanwhile, in other lists, I actually do have multiple Lehman Russes, but since it's 1750, I only have one. You need battle tanks in this list. You don't want to take Vendettas. Vendettas are also attention grabbing, and your opponent will know to shoot down a Vendetta. But if you have a Blob Guard in the middle of the table and you just roll a couple Lehman Russes on, usually if you're going second, you want to roll the Lehman Russes on, even if it's late game. Usually they're fine, but that's really bad. You want them to have first turn, so you can have shooting, as always. You want to have the Lehman Russes generally in the back, kind of along the back of your table, behind pieces of terrain. Your opponent's going to be distracted by the Blob Guard. Your tanks are what's going to be actually doing the damage to your enemy. Your enemy really won't notice that because your Blob Guard is shooting things with crack missiles and is assaulting things and is killing stuff that's coming at them. But the tanks are really what's going to be the problem. Also things like Ratlings, killing monstrous creatures and pinning enemy units. Autocannon teams, which I think are very good. They'll be doing a lot of damage. Command squads with sniper rifles. I like the sniper rifles, even plasma guns, even melta guns, also causing damage. Sentinels as well, basically a lot of shooting, but not enough to grab your opponent's attention because of the blobs in the way. Now, of course, I'm going to get a lot of, well, what the blob is going to get their attention is you shoot your tanks. Well, the blob will kill them because you can't ignore that blob. It's like Terminators coming at you. You just can't ignore the Terminators. Eventually, you have to shoot at them. I do a very hammer and anvil type of list. In this list, the shooting elements such as the Punisher, Straken, the Sentinels, and well, not necessarily the Sentinels, the command squads and stuff. They hold my enemy in place. They are static for the most part. They are shooting and they kill stuff. The hammer in my list is the Hellhound and the Demolitions team. They're the stuff that goes up the side, sneak up the side, drop demo charges, drop Hellhound templates. Hammer and anvil. That's the way I've always played guard, and that's the way I play almost all my armies, and it always has worked. A mix of static shooting and assaulty, or necessarily just moving up and dropping pie plates and stuff. That's what's great about this army. Generally, I don't rush them till the very end, in which case they cause a lot of damage. I've won many games by just moving forward and dropping the demo charge on, or just firing off that Hellhound template, since people don't get the fact they can throw that template 12 inches. In conclusion, Blob Guard are very, very successful. They're not used that much because of Leaf Blower Guard being very successful, Mech IG, but the Blob Guard is a very good option. It's very viable, and I've done very well with it. I've only ever lost one game, and that was due to time, and it was turn 3. And I just finished my turn. A tournament organizer came in and said there was 15 minutes left, and I did not move on the objectives, but I destroyed half my enemy force, and I did not lose. I lost barely anything, and he was on one objective. It's the only time I've ever lost with this army. I've had Tyranids assault it and just not be able to kill it. In conclusion, as well, the blob sits in the middle. The tanks sit in the back. You want multiple battle tanks if you can fit them in. If not, a couple's fine. Sitting in the back, causing damage. Battle tanks. I love battle tanks. They're my favorite unit. They're my first model I ever got. Always very good. Give orders to the blob. Give orders to the heavy weapons teams. Late in the game, rush your Hellhound and your Demolitions teams forward to cause enemy problems, contest objectives, blow an enemy off objective, or even claim objectives. The blob will survive. It'll take a lot of damage. You'll lose a lot of guardsmen, but remember, with the flamers, power weapons, and heavy weapons teams taken out, you still have 30 meat wounds that you can take before you have to put any wounds on those guys. Remember that. It's very hard to kill this unit. And also remember, even if you move forward and you rapid fire and you get first rank fire, second rank fire, third rank fire, it's 105 laser gun shots. That's all I gotta say about that. Anyway, hopefully I'll get more videos on lists and stuff I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run this tomorrow. Check tomorrow for a battle report. And that's it. Blob Guard. Try it out.